The Law of One, Session 52, May 19, 1981.
Ra, I am Ra. I greet you in the love and in the light of the one infinite Creator. We communicate now.
Questioner, in the previous session you stated that the other type of experience is the fourth, fifth, and sixth densities of other galaxies and some within your own galaxy which have learned necessary disciplines of personality to view the universe as one being, and therefore are able to proceed from locus to locus by thought alone, materializing the necessary craft. I would like to ask you, when you say that fourth, fifth, and sixth densities of other galaxies, and some within your own galaxy, are you stating here that more of the entities in other galaxies have developed the abilities of personality than have in this galaxy for this type of, shall I say, travel? I am using the term galaxy with respect to the lenticular shape of 250 billion stars.
Ra, I am Ra. We have once again used a meaning for this term, galaxy, that does not lie within your vocabulary at this time, if you will call it so. We referred to your star system. It is incorrect to assume that other star systems are more able to manipulate the dimensions than your own. It is merely that there are many other systems besides your own.
Questioner, thank you. I think that possibly I am on an important point here, because it seems to me that the great work in evolution is the discipline of personality, and it seems that we have two types of moving around the universe, one stemming from disciplines of personality, and the other stemming from what you call the slingshot effect. I won't even get into the sublight speeds because I don't consider that too important. And I only consider this material important with respect to the fact that we are investigating discipline of the personality. Does the use of the slingshot effect for travel, is that a what you might call an intellectual or a left brain type of involvement of understanding rather than a right brain type?
Ra, I am Ra. Your perception on this point is extensive. You penetrate the outer teaching. We prefer not to utilize the terminology of right and left brain due to the inaccuracies of this terminology. Some functions are repetitive or redundant in both lobes, and further, to some entities the functions of the right and left are reversed. However, the heart of the query is worth some consideration. The technology of which you, as a social complex, are so enamored at this time is but the birthing of the manipulation of the intelligent energy of the sub-logos which, when carried much further, may evolve into technology capable of using the gravitic effects of which we spoke. We note that this term is not accurate, but there is no closer term. Therefore, the use of technology to manipulate that outside the self is far less of an aid to personal evolution than the disciplines of the mind/body/spirit complex, resulting in the whole knowledge of the self in the microcosm and macro-cosm. To the disciplined entity, all things are open and free. The discipline which opens the universes opens also the gateways to evolution. The difference is that of choosing either to hitchhike to a place where beauty may be seen or to walk, step by step, independent and free, in this independence to praise the strength to walk and the opportunity for the awareness of beauty. The hitchhiker, instead, is distracted by conversation and the vagaries of the road and, dependent upon the whims of others, is concerned to make the appointment in time. The hitchhiker sees the same beauty but has not prepared itself for the establishment, in the roots of mind, of the experience.
Questioner, I would ask this question in order to understand the mental disciplines and how they evolve. Do 4th, 5th, and 6th density positive or service to others orientation social memory complexes use both the slingshot and the personality discipline type of effect for travel, or do they use only one?
Ra, I am Ra. The positively oriented social memory complex will be attempting to learn the disciplines of mind, body, and spirit. However, there are some which, having the technology available to use intelligent energy forces to accomplish travel, do so while learning the more appropriate disciplines.
Questioner, then I am assuming in the positively oriented social memory complexes that a much higher percentage of them use the personality disciplines for this travel. Is this correct?
Ra, I am Ra. This is correct. As positive fifth density moves into sixth, there are virtually no entities which any longer use outer technology for travel or communication.
Questioner, could you give me the same information on the negatively oriented social memory complexes as to the ratios, how they use the slingshot or other effect, personality disciplines?
Ra, I am Ra. The fourth density negative uses the slingshot gravitic light effect, perhaps 80% of its membership being unable to master the disciplines necessary for alternate methods of travel. In fifth density negative, approximately 50% at some point gain the necessary discipline to use thought to accomplish travel. As the sixth density approaches, the negative orientation is thrown into confusion and little travel is attempted. What travel is done is perhaps 73% of light/thought.
Questioner, is there any difference then, at, say, close to the end of fifth density in the disciplines of personality required for this travel between positive and negative orientation, higher fifth density?
Ra, I am Ra. There are patent differences between the polarities, but no difference whatsoever in the completion of the knowledge of the self necessary to accomplish this discipline.
Questioner, am I correct, then, in assuming that discipline of the personality, knowledge of self, and control, shall I say, in strengthening of the will would be what any fifth density entity would see as those things of importance?
Ra, I am Ra. In actuality, these things are of importance in third through early seventh densities. The only correction in nuance that we would make is your use of the word control. It is paramount that it be understood that it is not desirable or helpful to the growth of the understanding, may we say, of an entity by itself to control thought processes or impulses except where they may result in actions not consonant with the law of one. Control may seem to be a shortcut to discipline, peace, and illumination. However, this very control potentiates and necessitates the further incarnative experience in order to balance this control or repression of that self which is perfect. Instead, we appreciate and recommend the use of your second verb in regard to the use of the will. Acceptance of self, forgiveness of self, and the direction of the will, this is the path towards the disciplined personality. Your faculty of will is that which is powerful within you as co-creator. You cannot ascribe to this faculty too much importance. Thus it must be carefully used and directed in service to others for those upon the positively oriented path. There is great danger in the use of the will as the personality becomes stronger, for it may be used even subconsciously in ways reducing the polarity of the entity.
Questioner, I sense, possibly, a connection between what you just said and why so many wanderers have selected harvest time on this planet to incarnate. Am I correct? This is a vague notion.
Ra, I am Ra. It is correct that in the chance to remember that which has been lost in the forgetting there is an immunity of opportunity for positive polarization. We believe this is the specific thrust of your query. Please ask further if it is not.
Questioner, well, I would just include the question as to why time of harvest is selected by so many wanderers as time for incarnation.
Ra, I am Ra. There are several reasons for incarnation during harvest. They may be divided by the terms self and other self. The overriding reason for the offering of these brothers and sisters of sorrow in incarnative states is the possibility of aiding other selves by the lightening of the planetary consciousness distortions and the probability of offering catalyst to other selves which will increase the harvest. There are two other reasons for choosing this service which have to do with the self. The wanderer, if it remembers and dedicates itself to service, will polarize much more rapidly than is possible in the far more etiolated realms of higher density catalyst. The final reason is within the mind/body/spirit totality or the social memory complex totality, which may judge that an entity or members of a societal entity can make use of third density catalyst to recapitulate a learning/teaching which is adjudged to be less than perfectly balanced. This especially applies to those entering into and proceeding through sixth density, wherein the balance between compassion and wisdom is perfected.
Questioner: Thank you. Just as something that I am a little inquisitive about, not much importance, but I'd like to make a statement I intuitively see, which may be wrong. You were speaking of the slingshot effect, and that term has puzzled me. The only thing I can see is that you must put energy into the craft until it approaches the velocity of light, and this of course requires more and more and more energy. The time dilation occurs, and it seems to me that it would be possible to, by moving at 90 degrees to the direction of travel, somehow change this stored energy in its application of direction or sense so that you move out of space/time into time/space with a 90 degrees deflection. Then the energy would be taken out in time/space and you would re-enter space/time at the end of this energy reversal. Am I in any way correct on this?
Ra, I am Ra. You are quite correct as far as your language may take you and, due to your training, more able than we to express the concept. Our only correction, if you will, would be to suggest that the 90 degrees of which you speak are an angle which may best be understood as a portion of a tesseract.
Questioner: Thank you. Just a little point that was bothering me of no real importance. Well, is there then, from the point of view of an individual who wishes to follow the service to others path from our present position in third density, is there anything of importance other than disciplines of personality, knowledge of self, and strengthening of will?
Ra, I am Ra. This is technique. This is not the heart. Let us examine the heart of evolution. Let us remember that we are all one. This is the great learning/teaching. In this unity lies love. This is a great learn/teaching. In this unity lies light. This is the fundamental teaching of all planes of existence in materialization. Unity, love, light, and joy. This is the heart of evolution of the spirit. The second-ranking lessons are learned/taught in meditation and in service. At some point the mind/body/spirit complex is so smoothly activated and balanced by these central thoughts or distortions that the techniques you have mentioned become quite significant. However, the universe, its mystery unbroken, is one. Always begin and end in the Creator, not in technique.
Questioner: Thank you. In mentioning, in the previous session, the harvest, you mentioned the light bringers from the octave. Am I to understand that those who provide the light for the gradation of graduation are of an octave above the one we experience? Could you tell me more about these light bringers, who they are, etc.?
Ra, I am Ra. This will be the last full query of this working. This octave density of which we have spoken is both Omega and Alpha, the spiritual mass of the infinite universes becoming one central sun or creator once again. Then is born a new universe, a new infinity, a new logos which incorporates all that the creator has experienced of itself. In this new octave there are also those who wander. We know very little across the boundary of octave except that these beings come to aid our octave in its logos completion. Is there any brief query which you have at this time?
Questioner: Only is there anything that we can do to make the instrument more comfortable or to improve the contact?
Ra, I am Ra. This instrument has some distortion in the area of the lungs which has been well compensated for by the position of the physical complex. All is well. We leave you, my friends, in the love and in the light of the one infinite Creator. Go forth, therefore, rejoicing in the power and in the peace of the one infinite Creator. Adonai.